Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. 2022, let's go. Come on, man.
Absolutely. I'm feeling good for the first time in many days here. As you already know, but our listeners do not, my entire 5-person family got COVID within about 6-7 days of each other. We dropped like dominoes one at a time. Like my daughter got it at a gymnastics class, and gave it to my wife, who gave it to me, who gave it to my other daughter, who gave it to my son, who was the healthiest one in the family, was the last person to fall, but even he fell. And there were definitely some days where I could not get out of bed and just felt like crud. So for anybody wondering why we reposted one of our most popular episodes of all time on Monday of this week, that is why. We just I could not be in front of a microphone.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone and you sounded like Darth Vader. And
Yes.
I was like, this is not going to work for us.
Nope, definitely not. But I feel good now. And one of the things that I did over the last few days, just kind of laying in bed, I watched a lot of TikTok and LinkedIn, and just kind of passed the time whenever I wasn't sleeping. And I came across a video of Elon Musk talking, and it was a short clip of him talking about how a tendency of a lot of engineers, a lot of really smart engineers that he's seen, is to try to optimize something that shouldn't exist to begin with. And it was such a profound statement that he said, and I immediately started thinking about how leaders will do the exact same thing when it comes to processes and people and strategy. It literally exists everywhere, and it is rooted from this. When you were asked a question growing up, you are not taught to question the person asking you the question, why they're even bothering to ask the question to begin with. You're taught to answer it. And so it's like even dumb questions have answers, right? Mm-hmm. But what Elon Musk was saying is that some questions, you're asking the wrong question to begin with, or you shouldn't even be asking it, or you're trying to fit a round peg into a square hole. And sure, maybe you can do it well, but maybe you shouldn't even have tried to begin with, right? Yeah. And so what I kind of want to talk about today on this episode, and what I want to ask you about is, have you been in a situation where somebody, where a leader or a leader of yours was having you do something, and you were going through the motions, you were trying to figure out the best way to get something done, and at some point you just started saying to yourself, why am I even doing this? Like, what? Like, why did we even start down this path? I know it's happened to me, and sometimes it's hard to recognize that it's one of those things until you're already deep in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it happens quite often in a couple different spaces. I think first and foremost, leaders, since we tend to pull behaviors and approaches to work and like theories of leadership from those that led us, it kind of creates this cascading effect of like just making the box smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Sure.
To where it's like, this is the only way that I can lead people, or the only way that I can approach leadership, because I've seen it be successful by the leader that I was with. So I think it starts to happen there, where and that's kind of where you find those leaders where they work really, really well with certain types of personalities or certain types of people, because that's how they communicate, that's how they work, that's what they're able to motivate easily, those types of things. I think the other part of it is what you talked about in process and procedure. This just happened the other day, where there was a process that needed to be done, and one of my leaders had said, hey, I'm waiting for this other person to complete this process. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And then a couple of days, we're still waiting for this person to click this button, and it's causing this type of an ongoing issue where we can't get this closure to this thing. And then it was like, and then again, I'm waiting for this, and I said, well, hold on, like, they're the only person that can close this, click this button. Well, I don't know. I just know that in the past, we had to reach out to this person for them to click the button. And I said, well, let me look. Oh, look at that. I can also click the button. Let me go ahead and click the button, right? Like, and it was 4, 5, 6, 7 days of waiting, because this is what was done in the past, or this is how we assumed the process had to go, because that's the way they've only ever seen it before,
right?
Without stopping to think, well, like, what's the actual thing that we should be doing, or what's the question? The question is, can anybody click the button And so I just think that happens quite a bit where we kind of get locked in, especially in process, to just thinking that it can only be done this way or that it has to be done this way.
Right. I think part of it is that we don't want to trouble other people. So it's like if we think that if we start lifting up the rug to see what's underneath it, and even the naturally inquisitive and curious types who might want to say, how do I pick this apart and make this better? At some point you got to pick and choose your battles. And I've been in situations where I inherently saw something as being something that shouldn't exist to begin with, and people trying to optimize it or make it better. And I didn't question it, because even though I thought maybe I should, because at the end of the day, you do have to pick and choose your battles. Right. And some battles are not like, what would this really have solved to challenge it? What would it have saved in terms of time or money? Not that much. Is it worth creating this hill to die on or to pick a fight on, basically? Sometimes not. Sometimes you do go through the motions because that's just what you do. And you have to kind of ask yourself in each situation, is this one of those things where I should just let it go and do what I'm supposed to do and check wait for the person to push the button so that I can do my thing? Or do I challenge the very existence of the button to begin with and know that, sure, it might make things more efficient, but what relationship is it going to kill in the meantime? Or, what other problems is it going to create for me? Is it going to create a reputation about me as the person who challenges everything just for the sake of challenging things? Because that's not good either. So these are really interesting kind of things to think about when it comes to optimizing something that shouldn't exist to begin with, and it's something that is a large part of leadership, especially when it comes to executing strategy that is given to you from somebody else. And so what I want to ask you is, tell me about a time when you were executing something from somebody that came from above you, where it was just kind of like, all right, let's just do this, and you found yourself in that situation where you're like, oh, why are we even doing this? But first, I want to give it up to a word from one of our sponsors. All right, Lorenzo, when were you given a task that you knew in your heart probably shouldn't be done to begin with, and yet you had to execute, or how'd you kind of navigate those waters with your own boss?
So many years ago, I was in a situation where I had taken over a store with a team, and they had a lot of excessively old product that needed to go. And so there was this idea of like, well, we can discount this product for customers and give them some great deals and that type of thing, and move it that way and still make some decent money, or make maybe just a little bit of money, or even lose less money on the product, but just get it out of the store. And the idea that was given to me was like, well, why don't you just do like an employee auction type of thing, where like bring the team in and let them bid on it, and just get it all out. Like who cares? Like, just, slash the prices and allow people the opportunity to buy it really, really cheap.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe. Or the employees learn that if they don't sell stuff over time, that maybe they get a chance to buy it at pennies on the dollar. So like, let's maybe not do that, right? Like, and so like, why are we looking to move product out the most efficient way, and in a way that is protecting the profitability of the product in the company, to and sometimes again like losing less money on it? Or are we doing something that is just quickly going to make it happen, but could also build out the wrong behaviors and the wrong type of culture over time? And so that's where it was a best practice that other stores had done, and I was like, no, like this doesn't make any sense to me. And I say, I don't like, I hear what you're saying, but it's not the right thing on a bunch of different levels. The only thing it's solving is getting product out the door at massively huge discounts. And if that's what the business that we're into, then why don't we do that with everything? Like why don't we just like close the doors and then just let employees buy whatever they want and tell us what the price is? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, like, and if you want to be able to build behavior and strategy over time, and be able to help customers want to come shop at your store and look for deals, and that like we have to do something different here. So it was just a time where what I was being asked made no sense, but it was simply because somebody else had done it, and they were able to erase one thing off of a larger profit and loss statement in a quick amount of time without thinking about the longer term impact of the culture and the environment and what you want to do. And like, look, there were plenty of times when employees got great deals. It happened all the time.
Sure.
But it just didn't make sense in this element to actually do that and to risk what we were trying to accomplish.
Right. So they were in essence trying to optimize a process that shouldn't have existed in the first place.
Yeah. We shouldn't be auctioning off products to employees to begin with. Like, that's not it's not a part of the operating model, right? It's a SOP does not say to do this on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis.
Right.
So why are we trying to optimize this thing that we shouldn't be doing whatsoever?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So were you given pushback? Like when you said, I'm just not going to do this doesn't make sense, and you articulated the reasons why, did it still continue in other places and you were kind of left alone about it, or were you given pushback, or how'd that work?
Yeah, it was given a little bit of pushback. But basically I had to say, like, look, if you want me to be responsible for this, and I know what you're asking me to do, which is to get rid of these products. I get it, right? And here's what I'll do. Give me the 30 days to work through my process. I believe I can move them. I believe I can protect the margins. And if that doesn't happen, then I'll go to whatever plan is that you have, right? But if I'm going to be responsible for the profitability of the store, which, you know, is one of the main objectives of the role that I have, then I need to be smarter about how we approach this. And so there was a little bit of pushback at first, a little bit of back and forth, but it was done in a respectful way, in an understanding way, and I appreciated that, and I was able to implement what I thought was the right thing, and it ended up being really great long term, because then it allowed us to implement a strategy and a process throughout the year and at all times that kept those things off of the books long term and never put us in a situation where we had to hold on to, you know, products that shouldn't be, you know, in the store and that were much older. And it allowed us to be a very profitable store for a good period of time.
Yeah, I love that. And what I heard in that whole kind of example is psychological safety. You know, it was, you know, the difference between a person who just kind of goes through the motions. Because if you had gone through the motions, then you were told from somebody above you to do that. Then no one was going to come to you later on and say you did the wrong thing. You had kind of, you know, carte blanche to do what that was, and you could have done that, just gone through the motions. But you pushed back. I'm sure there are a lot of leaders out there and people in similar situations where they didn't push back because the last time they pushed back, their leader was, not as accommodating or not as respectful. The conversation didn't go as well. And so when I hear about these examples of things that are continually being optimized when they shouldn't exist in the first place, what I think really is, what is the level of psychological safety and the relationship that exists between the leader and the leader's leader? And if it is good, then you will likely have things that get questioned early and often, as opposed to things that just are allowed to have time and money wasted on them being optimized when they really shouldn't have existed to begin with.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.